Protect your car with 3W Liners all-weather floor mats. Made from durable materials like TPE and rubber, our mats are designed to withstand rain, snow, and mud with deep grooves to trap dirt and liquids. For a custom fit and advanced protection, visit 3W Liners. That's the number 3, WLINERS.com today. Cases, innovation drives us. Since 2008, we've been creating cutting-edge technology products that make your life easier. With a focus on performance, design, and customer service, we're here to help you work smarter, not harder. Join us on our journey to simplify your world. Visit acasis.com today. That's ACASIS.com today.
Farmhouse offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farms, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
We are here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network on this Friday. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeping us on the air as he does 5 days a week. It is draft day in the NHL. We'll talk about the Bruins prospects and who they should take at number 7 in the second segment. First, we'll talk about what you see on the thumbnail, right? Trade down USA. All Boston sports teams want to do now is trade players. And since we got off the air yesterday, there have been 2 hot rumors about 2 of the best players in this city possibly getting dealt. We'll go over deals for David Pastrnak, deals for Alex Bregman for the Red Sox at the deadline. And then in the third segment, we will do what we were supposed to do last week before technical difficulties, which is our 3, that is myself and Zach Burks, 3 favorite athletes who never won a championship. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about why. All that and more coming up on this episode of The Cam Show. But we start where we start. Boston is now Trade Town USA. Any great young homegrown player or even some great player that you acquired recently, they're on the trading block if they play in Boston. Right? Celtics acquired 2 X-Factor pieces before the championship season. They're both gone. Kristaps, Porzingis, and Jrue Holiday. Red Sox, homegrown superstar that you made the highest paid player on your team and in your history, gone. In the middle of his prime, in the middle of a season, you trade Rafael Devers. The Bruins, the captain, right? The longest-serving member of the team, Hall of Famer, going to have his number 63 retired in the rafters. Brad Marchand, traded. Goes on to win the Stanley Cup. That could be continuing. Could be continuing here. The number 1 trade piece in all of Major League Baseball, according to ESPN, is Alex Bregman. And the man's got some suitors, okay? Just like he did in the offseason. The Yankees are in on a third baseman. The Mets are in on a third baseman. And then the 2 teams that the Red Sox beat out for Alex Bregman in free agency, Detroit and the Cubs, who are having much better years than the Red Sox, are now also in on a potential Alex Bregman deal. We know the Red Sox are going to be sellers going into this trade deadline, but does that constitute dealing away Alex Bregman? There have been talks in the last few days that Bregman is willing to talk about renegotiating a deal, signing on for longer for the Red Sox, because this is, again, basically a one-year deal. He's got a player option after this season, and he hasn't played since May. This could be a disaster. Disaster for the Red Sox. You had this conundrum before the season. You got Alex Bregman. You have Rafael Devers. Who's going to play third base? What an embarrassment of riches. You've got two big-time elite major league hitters at the same position. You've got an embarrassment of riches. Who are you going to put where? And by the trade deadline, by the dog days of August, you might not have either of them on your roster. That would be a seismic event. A seismic trade, even for a team that is getting all too used to size. They've traded 3 Hall of Famers, potential future Hall of Famers, in the last 5 years. Alex Bregman could be a very good guy that you trade. Again, because now the Red Sox are pissing their pants, wondering if they're going to be able to even re-sign him after this year. If he'll take that option. Because his best friend in the whole club, Alex Cora, is on the hot seat. They sold him on this dream of, hey, we're finally competing here. We're going to bring the pieces together for us to finally win. And we got all these kids coming up. Oh, but yeah, in the middle of your first season, we're going to trade the best player on the team. Yeah, because you've got us from here, Alex. It's the case with Alex Bregman is no different than the case with most other Red Sox stars the last couple of years. When am I going to get traded? Or when are they going to strip this team down? It's kind of one or the other, if not a little bit of both. How long is my time here? How long are they actually committed to winning? Because they haven't been committed to winning in a long time here by our standards. It's been 6 or 7 years since they've been truly, actually committed to winning. And I don't know what happened. I know the luxury tax got a little bit different. Maybe they were just so discouraged by the extension of Chris Sale that they said, you know what, we can't do this anymore. We can't put money into this product. I got to put money into Liverpool. Got to put money into the Pittsburgh Penguins. But Alex Bregman's got to sit there and wonder, what is this going to be for me? I came to a place to win again. That's all Alex Bregman cares about, right? Which is good. All he cares about is winning. He's been in a winning organization his whole career with the Houston Astros. And the teams that lined up for him this offseason were focused on winning. You thought the Red Sox were. Detroit clearly is. And the Cubs clearly are. And so he's sitting here saying, am I on a team that's committed to winning and I'm going to be a focal point of it? Or am I just going to be the guy that has to take the young kids under my wing, which I didn't ask for? These kids who are bright young prospects but don't know the fundamentals when they hit the major league level. Am I going to have to teach them that? Is that what I become? Do I become the Jake Taylor of this team, in Major League? Right? Just, hurry them along, herd them like sheep, teach them how to play the game? Or can I go somewhere and be a middle of the order kind of hitter and a true contributor to a winning team? That's what Alex Bregman has to weigh. Because the Red Sox have a guy in Alex Bregman who has a ton of trade value here. It would be a just ridiculous and perfectly patented 2020's Red Sox thing to do to trade him at the trade deadline. And he should get you a decent haul, even for a guy who's on an expiring contract for all intents and purposes, especially if he goes to Detroit or Chicago, where it sounded like he was willing to go anyway. Maybe you get a bit of a better haul because he's probably going to opt in. But this is close to disaster territory for the Red Sox. Man, if they don't get him to sign on and you don't trade him and let him, he just walks away for nothing and goes to one of those two teams, Chicago or Detroit, God forbid the Yankees, you are up the creek without a paddle, man. You've just got a trio of youngsters, one of whom went back down to AAA, and Garrett Crochet, and that's all you've got to rely on. The Red Sox desperately need Alex Bregman's bat back in this lineup, and they need him on the team next year. That should be a non-negotiable. The Red Sox should be working out a new deal right now. You saw what he was at the beginning of the season. He's now a bit oft-injured. I get it. But he's far and away the best veteran hitter that you have. Far and away. And he's a hell of a team leader. I don't know if he wants to be that guy that just brings everybody under his wing and teaches them how to play Major League Baseball. But he's pretty good at it. He's a guy who's been in winning clubhouses his whole career. High school to college to the pros. He's won 2 World Series. He goes to the ALCS every year. Like, that's a guy you really want in your clubhouse. And I would go as far as saying the Red Sox need a guy like that in their clubhouse with the team they've got right now and the youngsters that are going to make up the future core of this team. Alex Bregman, number 1 trade chip, according to ESPN for MLB this year. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Should the Red Sox be renegotiating right now? Should they be extending him right now? Or is it time to trade him? Is he injured too often all of a sudden and you need to trade him? Let me know in the comments, because the Red Sox are cornering the market on this list of the top trade targets in all of baseball, the top dangling trade pieces in all of baseball. Alex Bregman's number 1. And sitting there at number 2 is another Red Sox. There are 30 teams in this league, and the Red Sox just so happen to have the best 2 trade chips because they suck. Number 2 is Jarren Duran. Got to give credit where credit's due. Jarren Duran sounds like he has buried the hatchet with Jared Carrabis. He's on Section 10 today. So thankfully, that beef has been squashed. But I've said it for weeks now. And I like Jarren Duran. I actually do like Jarren Duran, the player. I don't know him as a person, so I like Jarren Duran. But this is as good as his trade value is ever going to be. And if you look at this thing a year or 2 from now, he probably is the correct odd man out. Okay, when you're looking at having Roman Anthony and William Abreu and the defense, at least the defensive ability that Ceddanne Rafaela gives you, and he has been a better hitter the last month or so on the downturn right now, but he has been a better hitter. He's going to be Jackie Bradley Jr., okay, and have 2 power-hitting corner outfielders that are young / into their prime, William Abreu and Roman Anthony. There's just not there is a place for Duran, but not at what you could be getting for him, if that makes sense. Like, it's not worth not getting what he can yield in a trade. Because I said that even before this season, like, of the question marks the Red Sox had going into 2025, one of the big ones is what Jarren Duran you're going to get. Like, are you going to get top 5 MVP, top 10 MVP, All-Star Game MVP kind of Jarren Duran? I doubt you're ever going to get that again. Because all the baseball I've watched in my life shows you're probably not going to get that again. Duran is a nice, good top-of-the-order hitter. He is. He's a decent outfielder who's having a bad year, and he can wreak some havoc on the base paths. But he's not one of these elite speedster corner outfielders that you've got to lock up long-term. I really don't think so. He wasn't a major prospect through the system really at any point. He came up because of a necessity, because they had some injuries in the outfield. He's been fine. He takes a huge leap out of nowhere in 2024, and he's taken a step back so far in 2025. I think just by having gone through the Jackie Bradley experience, you have to say, like, we've probably gotten the best baseball out of him. Having gone through the Andrew Benintendi experience leads me to say we've probably gotten the best baseball out of him. People from my dad's generation, having seen Fred Lynn, saying you probably got the best baseball out of him. Tony Armas Jr., like, we can go up and down the list, man. Any team, not just the Red Sox. You've probably gotten the best out of Jarren Duran. Like, are you going to bet on him going into next year? Like, let's just play this out. He hits 260 this year. You really banking on next year him being an 800 OPS guy at the top of your order and a top 10 MVP vote getter? Like, let's live in reality here. He's probably never going to be that again. He could still be a solid player and can help a team. But right now, you're still sucking off the tit of being a top 10 MVP vote getter last year with a cheap team-controlled contract. You can get legit prospects for this guy. Legit roster major league players for this guy. I think it would be kind of crazy to not deal with Jarren Duran before the trade deadline. When you look at what the long-term prospects are. If this team starts to turn it around, which I doubt, but let's just say they do. Let's say they start winning some series again in the beginning to mid-July. Jarren Duran would be a good guy to still have on your team and in your lineup if this team is going to make a postseason push. But I think it is better for not even just the long term, for next year to get what you can get for Jarren Duran. That's just me. But the Red Sox have 2 of the top 2 trade targets, trade pieces in all of Major League Baseball going into this trade deadline. And they have 4 of the top 30. Aroldis Chapman also at 18 makes a ton of sense. No need for a closer if this team's selling at the trade deadline. And Walker Buehler is also in there. Take whatever you can get for that guy. I mean, take whatever you can. $20 million, expiring contract. The Red Sox will probably have to eat most of it just to get something for him. Just to get a Franchi Cordero type, just somebody. It'll probably be, a bullpen arm, maybe a Nick Pivetta kind of starter. That ended up being a good trade for you. Workman and Heath Hembry for Nick Pivetta. Maybe that's what you get, someone like that for Aroldis Chapman. But again, I don't want this to sound like, Jarren Duran is just total dog shit now. He's not having a great year. I would trade him. I really would. And it's really unfortunate that this comes after this Devers deal, because I think if it came before, you really had the ball in your court if you're Craig Breslow. I genuinely think you could have got a team's top prospect or top 2 prospects. Like we were going over the deals, man. Philadelphia, Andrew Painter, the starting pitcher, top 5 prospect in baseball. Leo DeVries, the number 2 prospect in baseball for San Diego. They had another top 30 prospect, Ethan Salas, who's a catching prospect, right in the mold of Kyle Teal, who you just traded. Like, to me, that is perfect. Perfect. I know it's a guy going up. He's not going to be on your major league roster for a year or 2, but I'm taking that guy for Jarren Duran. Duran's going to be the odd man out here. He just is. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned Masataka Yoshida. I don't know if he'll ever play for the Red Sox again. But Duran is the odd man out when it comes to the contract, the position, and the way he's playing this year. I'd rather have Abreu and Anthony as my everyday corner outfielders than Jarren Duran. So see what you can get for him. Would you do this Jarren Duran deal if it gets you a top 30 prospect in all of baseball? Let me know in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you are disappointed in the Red Sox 2025 season, are they still playoff contenders? Craig Breslow certainly thinks so. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Be sure to like, subscribe, find us live on YouTube, high noon Eastern time, every weekday, then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking everything Red Sox, Boston sports, coming at you every weekday. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Coming up, Alex Bregman isn't the biggest Boston star that now is getting trade rumors. David Pastrnak, the only shot in hell the Bruins have at anything, is he on the trading block too? Let's talk about it next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated with style and durability. You can trust Tervis tumblers to keep your drinks the perfect temperature, hot or cold, for hours. From the classic insulated tumblers to sleek stainless steel water bottles, Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at U-Like, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ulike.com. U-Like. With Ease US, make studio-quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high-quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional-grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Just use AMP-Pace.
AMP-Pace.
And now, back to our show.
Here on the Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network, we're talking nothing but Boston sports here, as we do live every weekday at high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcast. Boston, a.k.a. Trade-Town, USA, because the Bruins might have their very best player on the trading block, allegedly, kind of out of nowhere. David Pastrnak. Is he set to go? Rono Sport confirmed. According to Denick Sport, which is a Czech outlet, which is obviously where David Pastrnak is from. According to Denick Sport, Florida has a great interest in David Pastrnak. Obviously, the price is very high. However, Bill Zito is a wizard, and Florida has pieces to do that. Pastrnak has a no-move clause, but it looks like that shouldn't be a problem. Is David Pastrnak, of all players, on the trading block for the Boston Bruins? He sure as hell shouldn't be. That wouldn't make any sense. Like, I know the Bruins, I've said this for months. The Bruins are in more of a rebuild than they are a retool, and it might take a while for fans to realize that. And in a full rebuild, that's what you do. You blow it up. You get the most you can. I mean, that's essentially what they did with Joe Thornton 20 years ago. And they stripped it down. And they got draft picks, flexibility, and they rebuilt. So, in theory, if the Bruins are doing a full rebuild here, why shouldn't they trade David Pastrnak? Well, there's a fine line, okay? And that fine line is David Pastrnak is not only the best player on your team, but he is the only player on your team most nights. He is the only player worth a shit on your entire roster, maybe outside of Charlie McAvoy. He is one of the most underrated players in the entire league at this point. With the numbers he's put up the last couple of years, 3 straight 100-point seasons, had well over 100 points in this season when the Bruins were awful. Awful. At one point, he had scored or assisted on the team's last 13 goals, which is a franchise record for a franchise that's over 100 years old. I thought David Pastrnak should have gotten legitimate, like real legit, maybe even should have won the Hart Trophy this year for the most valuable player in the league. Would he go to Florida? Would he waive a no-move clause to go to Florida? Here's the answer that's going to hurt a lot of Bruins fans. Of course he would. Of course he would. Like, that's not even a shot at the Bruins. Like, why wouldn't you want to go to Florida at this point? They're the best team in hockey. It's a great place to live, it sounds like. And they've got great management, great players in that locker room. And they're a very, very, very good team. I don't know if you've heard this. They've won the last 2 Stanley Cups. And they've victimized the Bruins along the way. They've victimized David Pastrnak along the way. Brad Marchand certainly seems to love it. Would that make any sense? Would that make any real sense, though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, also, would this even make sense for Florida? Like, of course it does. There we go. It does make sense for Florida because he is one of the best top 10 players in the entire NHL. But does that really fit what you're looking for? Like, you've obviously got a gritty style. It's not too flashy. They certainly have a ton of skill on that team with Kachuk and Barkov and Reinhart. Like, there's certainly a lot of skill there. They're not a bunch of plugs. But like, you just gave a huge contract to Sam Reinhart. Why are you going after David Pastrnak? I think Pasternak's a better player than Reinhart, but like, how much better? How much more does David Pastrnak give you? It kind of goes without saying, but yeah, the Bruins would be absolutely, certifiably insane if they pulled this move. Like, genuinely insane if they did this. David Pastrnak is a player you can build around, man. And I know he's got a big price, right? $11 million a year. But like, if you are going to be that team that's competing in the next few years, which the Bruins say they're going to be, these teams have guys who are getting paid, over $9 million AAV. And in the next cycle with this new CBA, that Pastrnak contract is going to look cheap. Okay? It's going to look like a bargain. And you can build around that. Rather than trying to lure a free agent like a Jack Eichel next year, who I wish they would lure, right? Trying to lure in a free agent that's going to demand a higher price tag than that in a situation where you haven't been able to get a big-time free agent to come here in 20 years. It wouldn't make any sense at all. David Pastrnak is the face of this franchise. In fact, I'm kind of surprised they didn't name him the captain in the uniform reveal. But he is this team right now. I really like Charlie McAvoy too. He's coming off a down year where he gets hurt at the end. And I'm wondering if he ever becomes kind of that elite level defenseman that I think a lot of Bruins fans think he is. I'm talking like all-star Norris Trophy finalist kind of defenseman. He's not been that yet. He's never made an all-star team. He's never been a Norris finalist. We're firmly in his prime now. This is year number 9 for Charlie McAvoy. But Pastrnak is that guy. Pastrnak is a Hall of Famer. Pastrnak is going to be right near the top of all of your major scoring lists by the end of his career. Maybe even the all-time leading scorer in the history of the team. But from Pasternak's standpoint, he will probably have a lot of those records. He will go down as one of the best players in Boston Bruins history. But he also hasn't won the Stanley Cup. That's worth noting here. If you go to Florida, you're probably going to win the Stanley Cup. You're at least going to be in the mix. I don't think Florida's going anywhere these next couple of years. I don't think Florida's going away. I think they're going to be around. They're going to be around this cup. They're going to be around the Stanley Cup final all of these years. So from a Pastrnak standpoint, it's almost like, how could you blame him? From a Bruins standpoint, it would be, how could you do it? How could you do that? I would do anything to keep David Pastrnak happy. I think there's been some unjust criticism of him over the last few years. Because he's not Patrice Bergeron, that means he's a lazy player and he gives the puck away too much. I don't. It's funny. I don't see them complaining about that in Colorado with Nathan McKinnon. I don't see them complaining about it with Connor McDavid in Edmonton. I don't see them complaining about it with Matthew Tkachuk in Florida. This is what we're talking about with the elite offensive players in this league. They're not complaining about it in those other places. We shouldn't be complaining about it here. David Pastrnak is the franchise for the Boston Bruins. Trading him or doing anything to make him unhappy would be a very, very, very stupid move by an organization that does kind of like to make stupid moves. So let me know what you think in the comments section below. David Pastrnak, is he actually in the trade block? The only reason I give this credence is because it's from a Czech outlet. It's one that I've never heard of, but it's a Czech outlet. So maybe there is some insight there with David Pastrnak's family being in the Czech Republic and him being from there. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find us live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel talking Bruins draft, and everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week. Speaking of, real quick, the NHL draft. I've gotten a lot of responses to the Brady Martin video, the Brady Martin short. A couple of Brady Martin's old coaches have clearly found it on Instagram. They're the ones complaining and saying I'm a moron in the comment section below, which is like fine. But it's just kind of funny. They're all with, just happen to be hockey coaches within a 20-mile radius of where Brady Martin grew up. Funny how that works. So I'm wondering who you guys think it should be. I'm sticking to the case, and I know people think it's just because he plays in Boston and he's an American kid, but I will promise you it's not. If James Higgins is there at 7, you got to take James Higgins, man. You just have to. Not because he's a BC kid, because I don't know if you guys have told already, but I'm not a BC fan. But not just because of that, but because he was arguably, almost undoubtedly, the number one prospect going into the draft, looking at the beginning of last season. He still was a point a game as an 18-year-old in college. He's going to have a terrific year next year. It just would make all the sense in the world to go and draft him. It would be asinine to not pick him if he's there for you at number 7. But let me know in the comments below. Coming up next, Zach Burke and we're going to talk about each of our 3 favorite athletes of all time who have never won a major pro sports championship and did never win it. We'll tell you who those folks are coming up next on The Cam Show.
We'll be right back after these quick words from our sponsors. This is Rogue Media Network.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. Elevate your experience with Grenco Science, the leaders in cutting-edge vaporizers. Whether you're at home or on the go, our sleek, powerful devices deliver smooth, consistent hits every time. Quality you can trust, innovation you can feel. Grenco Science. Take your vapor game to the next level. Visit us at grencoscience.com.
It all began with a simple idea, cutting handles off old ski sticks to create better pull-up bars. This sparked the creation of the revolutionary Engels 90 handles. After testing over 70 prototypes with 300 athletes, our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. With over 20 years of experience, our expert staff, who've dived everywhere from the Galapagos to the Maldives, provides personalized advice to help you find the perfect gear for any underwater journey. Shop leading brands like GoPro, Aqualung, and Scuba Pro. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com.
And now, back to our show.
Back to the show. Cam Show, Rogue Media Sports Network. Cam Stewart, Zach Burke.
Hey.
What's going on, Zach?
Not much. I just thought that was kind of like a, cool little thing. I don't know. I was workshopping it.
Having a nice Friday?
Yeah. No, it's not bad. How I got to listen to some awesome hockey talk just a second ago.
How about that, huh?
I know.
I know you love that. Have you done the we talked about it. It was on the Pete Souza show earlier, this New York Times thing. Where you rank your top 10 2000s movies. Have you done that yet?
I have a list. Here's what I'll tell you. I have 9. I don't have my 10th.
All right.
I know that's a weird thing. It's just like I think I know what my 10th is. I think my 10th would be, here's the reason I don't have a 10th. I think my 10th would be Social Network, but then that gives me 2 David Fincher movies. and I was trying to keep it where I had one.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah, do you have
Interest
yours?
rate, man. No. So Scotty just sent me. He sent me it during the segment. Sent me the actual thing to fill out. So I got to do that.
Okay.
Maybe that's a segment next week.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't even need to be a Friday one. We can do it early.
Yeah. I'll keep mine. I will tell you that there's a movie on my list that for sure is not going to be on anybody else's, but I think that it's absolutely hilarious. So
okay.
Overlook.
Yeah. All right.
We'll get to that one.
Idiocracy. Yeah.
Oh, Idiocracy is great. I wanted to do Office Space, but it came out in 99.
99. Yep.
Yeah.
99.
To me, that is the best Mike Judge movie, but I mean, Idiocracy is still up there. I even like Extract. Like, I know that not everybody does.
Forever,
yeah, it's not bad though. I mean, it's Jason Bateman, it's Kristen Wiig, it's still good.
You know who else was good? Some of our favorite athletes of all time. What's not good is the guys that we're going to talk about on this list as our 3 favorite athletes of all time come with the caveat of the ones that have never won a championship at the pro sports level. Anyway.
Yes, sir. So I
start with your number 3.
I will start with my number 3, and I'm glad we didn't talk about it beforehand. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, does it have to be somebody that I saw in my lifetime? And the more I thought about it, I was like, no, because I have favorite athletes that aren't obviously I didn't see play. Like Bill Russell is my favorite NBA player. I did not watch him play, but
he won a championship.
He won a lot of them, so I couldn't pick him for that. You'll see who my NBA pick is, but
yeah, two of the 3 for me are before my lifetime. Sorry, there we go.
Yeah, so my number 3 is Earl Campbell, and it is just it's for a lot of different reasons. I've never had. I know that we talk about like just growing up with things, and he was done playing by then. But he was the first kind of player that and I'm sure your dad kind of did this with you too, but when he would tell you stories of like just build the myth up of like certain players, and Earl Campbell was just one of those that even as a little kid, I knew of how great he was. And then the older I was and the more of a football fan that I became, and I got to, go back and look at these Oilers teams that in all honesty weren't that great of teams aside from Earl, but just seeing like what he was able to do and, just at that position, just how much he put into it. I was lucky enough to meet the man later on in life at a Super Bowl and to see him, he has to get around mainly in a wheelchair now. So to know that he put everything he had out there, just like that is a man who deserves it more than anything else, who I think just gave everything to the game and for sure deserves something like that back from him.
Yes, Earl Campbell was mythical in my house growing up, and we didn't grow up anywhere near Texas. In fact, my dad, it's funny that you mentioned that because it was kind of like folklore. And he met him in like the early 80s. So Earl would have still been playing. And he said, Cameron, it's like unlike anything you've ever seen. The man had 34-inch thighs. Imagine the biggest man you've ever seen, and he's got tree trunks for legs. Like, and it's not that far off, right? Like what he's talking about.
Absolutely. I'll just share. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Just to share like my story a little bit. So like, because of that, my dad, I'm just going to go weird little emotional part, but like when he passed, like I took a picture of that. That was big for us. He didn't have any really pictures in the house except the one that I had of me and Earl Campbell that we took there at the Super Bowl. Like that was massive to him.
Pretty cool.
And it was a thing though too. You talk about how big he was. This is a man, even wheelchair bound. He didn't want to have to like sit there and go across, like ride across to where we were. He wanted to walk across, and he put his arms over us to help him walk. And to be able to say that, I got to do fucking A, man. Like that's something I'm never going to be able to, take, like I'm going to have that forever, but it's still, even in that like shape and just kind of, unfortunately, just a beaten down shape, he is still a massive man, like big. So, yeah.
And I think there's a team that I think both you and I grew up rooting for that we don't really claim now. We've kind of put a lot of that behind us, but the Earl Campbell thing that stays
for sure.
Just an absolute almost a Baylor Bear, by the way. That was allegedly his second choice. Like Grant Taft really put a blitz on Earl Campbell and was very, very close. His mom loved Baylor, but I mean,
awesome.
one of the best running backs in the history of the sport. And probably always will be. It's a shame. He made probably 2 AFC championship games against Pittsburgh, but didn't even play in a Super Bowl. Really unfortunate. All right.
But that's my number 3 pick, though.
That's number 3, Earl Campbell. We'll go to mine number 3. Not too surprising what sport it is in. We'll stick with hockey here. I talked a lot of hockey in the last segment. Cam Neely is the guy. Now, he did win the Stanley Cup as the team president in 2011, but I'm not counting that for the sake of this list. Cam Neely, as much as I have a problem with him now as a guy running the team for the Bruins, is one of my favorite athletes of all time. Definitely one of my favorite Bruins of all time. Zach, he was the quintessential power forward. He scored at a lightning pace. He scored 50 goals in 44 games one year on one knee. And he was also the toughest motherfucker in the league. Like, he would beat the shit out of people. Just the quintessential power forward. Hadn't seen anything quite like him before. Haven't really seen anything quite like him since. The only thing I would compare him to is probably Eric Lindros, who coincidentally, ironically enough, also is one of the greatest NHL players to never win the Stanley Cup. Just a real shame, man. He went to the final twice, played on some really good Bruins teams. His body betrayed him a little bit. He got his knee taken out on a cheap shot by Ulf Samuelsson in 92, which prematurely ended his career. He did score the 50 and 44 in 1994. You might know him from Dumb and Dumber.
Is he in Dumb and Dumber?
As Seabass in Dumb and Dumber.
I never realized that was Cam Neely.
Yes. So that's Farrelly Brothers. They love bringing in athletes. Yeah. Yep. And Cam Neely was the dude. So, I mean, just like classic, just absolutely puts into everything that Boston loves, everything that the Bruins are about. Hard-nosed, tough, also very skilled. It just sucks that he never got to win a cup.
Yeah.
Like, he deserves that. But
no, that's
what it is, president.
That's awesome. And just something that just to tag on real quick that I noticed you said that I feel like is with Earl and then with this next guy too, is we have these guys with our teams that seem to be those, like, they will give you everything they have in a sense. And those are the guys that you really want to be able to have it. Like, winning it as the team president, yeah, sure, but it's not the same.
Right.
Like, you would like to him be awarded for that blood, sweat, and tears that he gave you out there, kind of, in a way. So
yeah, and get his moment to raise the cup in uniform, you know. But yeah, I mean, Bobby Orr said it about his career getting cut short. I think Gronk would probably say the same thing. It's just a good way to put it, of like, look, there was a certain way I played. Like, Bobby Orr and Gronk are guys who weren't like, you know, I mean, Gronk was huge, but Bobby Orr wasn't like the throw guys around like Cam Neely, big body checker, but he was faster and better than everybody else. And he said, so I knew they had to take liberties with me. You know, I knew they had to take me down. Gronk's the same thing. He's like, I know they couldn't tackle me up high. They had to tackle me low. Like, that's just who it is. Cam Neely would probably say, I had to play the game a certain way. And I did it.
No,
and it came back to bite me in a bit, but he's also a Hockey Hall of Famer. You know, he's got his number retired with an original 6 team. Worked out okay. Just should have won the cup. Anyway, that's my number 3.
So we'll move on to my number 2 then. And I get it. And this is a bit of a different one. I don't think that a lot of people will be like, oh yeah, that guy. But to me, it's my favorite athlete. So, I mean, who cares what they say? That is going to be, it looked better when I had it. It's one Sean Kemp. So as for the 90s and growing up, I enjoyed like the Houston Rockets as a team, but there was no player that I loved watching more than Sean Kemp. And him and Gary Payton together on those Sonics teams. Like, I remember that I loved Sam Perkins, Detlef Schrempf. I think I watched more probably like Supersonics basketball as a kid than I did rock, just because I loved Sean Kemp and the rest of that team. And I remember cheering for them so hard against the Bulls, and knowing, even as like a 7-year-old, 8-year-old kid, that it was probably, it's not going to happen, but still thinking like there was a shot. There was nobody that I wanted more still from that to have a ring more than Sean Kemp. He got me into the game of basketball. I was never a tall guy, but like, just based off, when you go to a small school, 5'10" gets you to play post just based on everybody else around you, but still, like, you find guys that you like, that to emulate through. And it was like, I want to, grab rebounds. I want to like try to get up there, just be ferocious like that. The flashiness, he kind of fell off. in a sense after he left and got traded to Portland and then to Orlando and everything after that. I'm thinking like just peak Sean Kemp with Seattle deserves a title, just like Seattle deserves a team. And I think both of them go hand in hand.
No ring, but plenty of kids.
Gary Payton. Gary Payton got one because it was going to be the duo, but Gary got one in Miami. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
He didn't get one in LA with Carl
the year before.
Yeah, he didn't get one with Karl Malone. Remember when they all went championship?
Yeah.
And Jimmy Kimmel had that Karl Malone puppet. But
by the way, Karl Malone, I don't think will be on either of our lists.
Never. No,
Predator, not exactly a sympathetic figure.
Nah.
I don't care that he didn't win a title.
No,
Barkley, sure. Seems like a great guy.
Stockton even
had his problems as a teammate, but not
Malone. All right, so my number 2 is Sean Kemp.
Bringing it to kind of the same theme for me on my number 2, a folk hero that I watched so much as a kid when he did play in my city. Just so much of a bummer that this guy didn't win the Super Bowl, and that is the great Randy Moss. I mean, the second best player ever at his position, right, at wide receiver, played for the greatest dynasty ever just for the wrong years. And has
you say the wrong years. They were almost on the team that made history.
Right, almost on the best team ever. And I mean, you could still argue that the 07 Patriots is one of the greatest teams ever assembled. They just didn't win the big one. And it is Randy Moss's probably greatest year, 07. He sets the record for touchdown receptions in a season. It's kind of crazy to look back on. Like, his career was pretty much dead. Not that he couldn't play, but it just wasn't like Oakland was such a shell of himself. And at that point, he'd been in the league almost a decade. And it's like, you probably got the best football out of him. Kind of the same way that it went with like Ocho Cinco. Like, he's probably done. Terrell Owens, Dallas was okay, but you'd gotten the most out of him. Yeah. And Randy Moss comes to New England for nothing, whatever it was, 5th round pick. And just unleashes the Tom Brady that we all knew was there and puts up one of the great individual seasons of all time, completely unleashes the greatest offense of all time to that point in NFL history, and just doesn't quite get there. Man, I cannot tell you. And people will tell me all the time how spoiled I was as a kid with these sports teams. And I was. Absolutely. But there was almost nothing more spoiled than that season, and just seeing, like, as a 10-year-old thinking, oh yeah, that's how football works. Our quarterback just throws it up down the field. Our wide receiver catches it, and they score every fucking time they touch the football. Like, because that's what they did. They scored every time. They scored in the opening drive of like 12 or 13 of their 16 regular season games. Something just asinine, crazy to do in the NFL. And that's what it was, just Brady to Moss. It was like, Brady should just look for Moss here. Yeah, sure. Why not? It's just kind of sad. And the other thing too with Randy is I know he had a bit of trouble at the end of Minnesota, obviously a lot of trouble in Oakland, just like with management and his teammates. And he kind of ran his course a little bit in New England, but everybody loved him. Mm-hmm. And Belichick loved him. He was one of those guys who, and he really did shut up when he was in New England. Like, he was not a diva. He was one of those guys that clearly had gotten to this point in his career where he was like, you know what? I just want to win. I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to be a part of the best team. I just want to be a part of winning. And he did that. And, certainly in his media career since, he does not at all sound like the Randy Moss that we heard in, Minnesota and Oakland. He seems like a really great, genuine guy. So it sucks. He didn't get to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I'm completely with you there. I've always had a thing of where, like, the man was a verb, at least for most of my childhood.
Still is.
Even into my adulthood. Yeah, for sure. Like, that. Yeah, exactly. So just to have like that type of career and just be known for those type of accomplishments and for being that amazing of a wide receiver and not being able to have like that cherry on top in a way, just kind of, it sucks for a player like that. Like, I get, obviously, it's not fair to everybody. There are going to be players that you would love to see, who don't get titles. So I get that. That's kind of why we're making this list. But a guy who for sure deserves it from all the things that he was able to do out there on the field is a guy like Randy Moss.
That jersey went like quadruple platinum in New England, by the way. That 81 Randy Moss jersey. So great. Anyway,
all right.
Your number one, Zach.
Mine, and I can see what your number one is too. And it makes sense, though, that these for us are these are no-brainers. Mine is my favorite athlete, no matter the sport, of all time, and that is Ken Griffey Jr. The things that, like, I fell in love with baseball because of two individuals. There was an elderly gentleman that lived at the end of my grandparents' street who would end up teaching me a lot during the summers about baseball. But the other man it sounded weird to tell the story, but still, the other man, I was trying to do like this real nice,
touching.
Exactly.
Maybe that's not the right word for it.
Yeah, I know, but still, not at all. But the other man was Ken Griffey Jr. to the point of where I was mesmerized by just watching the man at bat, in the field, just everything that he did. I still will argue it's the sweetest swing in baseball. It just looks so sweet and effortless and just fluid. And man, I can watch highlights all day. The things he was able to do out in the field too, not like, just a 5-tool player all the way around. Injuries obviously kind of hurt him. And he was a part of, like, I thought he was in Cincinnati by the time they had the year that they won the 100+ games.
I think it was his second year in Cincinnati.
It was
16.
But they did have the year where they were in the championship series, though, right?
95,
yes. Yep. 95. They played in the championship series. So he had a shot and just came up short once, but that is the only shot he had.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he didn't make the playoffs again the rest of his career, actually, now that I think of it, unless there's some like off run in Cincinnati that I don't remember. I know for sure it wasn't in Chicago. By the time he came back to Seattle, like, they were where they are now. They're better now, I guess, and that's hard to say. But it's a guy that easily a Hall of Famer. If it weren't for injuries, I would argue would have had a shot. I don't know if he's still, like, if he breaks the record like Barry did, but would have had a shot to surpass it potentially. And is a man that I thought, I was wrong about that, was going to be the first, full ballot Hall of Famer until it was Mariano Rivera a couple years later. Yeah, unanimous. Thank you. Until, Mariano a couple years later. But there is nobody to me that deserved a World Series ring more than Ken Griffey Jr. just for the amazing athlete he was and what he did for the sport of baseball in general. I mean, he had video game, like, just for baseball, like, he brought the youth to baseball, I feel like, in a way. He was on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Let's not forget that either.
That's true. Yep.
He had cool Nike. They made fucking baseball shoes for him. Right. So the man deserves a World Series. Never. I know that yours for sure does too. And I'll let you.
Well, can I say something about Junior here?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think he's got, because you've nailed everything about his baseball career. Fantastic cameo in Little Big League. Just great. And actually, like, really good filmmaking too for a kid's baseball movie, because in every scene, Ken Griffey Jr. is the villain, right? Like, and Randy Johnson was that way too, in that movie. And they set it up perfectly, almost like Jaws. Ken Griffey doesn't talk in that movie. They've got the music and the looks and the struts and the close-ups, and you're like, damn, man, I want them to strike this asshole out, even though he's like the nicest guy ever and everybody loves him, right? And in one of those scenes is one of my favorite calls of any sport ever, and it's not even real, where the Twins broadcaster, after he hits that moonshot home run way, way, way out to right field, he goes, folks, people take vacations shorter than that. And it's like, yeah, baby. Which is funny because also Dave Newhouse of the actual Mariners fame has one of also my favorite home run calls ever. It's Ken Griffey in Toronto. You know this one, Zach?
I go ahead. I'll let you.
He hits it into the third deck in Toronto. And Newhouse, who is a great announcer, man, he's losing his fucking mind. And he's like, way, way, way over the Hard Rock Cafe. And he's running out of breath as he's saying it. Oh my, what a shot for Junior. It's fantastic.
It's great. It's that, and then everyone too, you would get after it all, goodbye baseball. Oh man, and I love that. Yeah.
Baseball.
I'll add before we get to yours, I'm a right-handed individual. Griffey obviously being a left. I loved him so much that I tried to teach myself how to do everything left-handed. In Little League, my coaches would constantly have to come up and move me to the other side of the plate because I refused to bat right-handed. I would try to waggle too. Him and Gary Sheffield were the two waggles I would try to do.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's stick with baseball, shall we?
Number
one for me, a little before my time, but I know pretty much most of the things about this guy's career. Number one for me, greatest favorite athlete that didn't win a championship, Teddy Ballgame, Ted Williams. For my money, the greatest baseball player of all time, the greatest hitter ever to walk the earth. Just video game numbers, and he really doesn't even reach the numbers that he should have. You know, Griffey had some injuries. Ted Williams loses 5 seasons in his prime, 5 seasons before the age of 35 to the war. 3 of them like legit in his prime. He's like 26, 27, like he's losing the best years of his career to serving in 2 wars and being a war hero, by the way. 521 homers, doesn't get to 3,000 hits because of it. And in his career, Zach, from 1939 to 1960, a lot happens, okay? That's 4 different decades right there. Parts of 4 different decades. He led Major League Baseball in batting average, home runs, and RBI for those 21 seasons. He had a career triple crown throughout. And again, take away 5 prime years. You do take away 5 prime years or 3 prime years, at least for a lot of other pretty good players too. Don't get me wrong. But if he gets those 5 years back, it's almost guaranteed he hits 700 homers. Like, you know what I mean? He was averaging 40 homers a year. Like he's getting to that, right?
Or easily the 3,000 hits and stuff too.
Yes. Yeah. I think he ends up with like 2,700. Like he's waltzing into that. Yeah. Still the highest career on base percentage of all time. Still the last player to hit 400 average for an entire season, which to me is more impressive than the 56 game hitting streak, which was the same year that got Joe DiMaggio the MVP. A career triple crown. Nobody better than Ted Williams. And it's a shame that he's got all these accolades, right? He's got the All-Star game walk-off home run. He's got the great All-Star game moment in 99. He's probably the greatest player ever. He's a fucking war hero. And yet he didn't ever win a World Series. And Joe DiMaggio won like 8. You know, it's cruel in a way. And more cruel than that, Zach, how about this story? In 1946, the Red Sox did win the pennant. It was the only World Series he played in. And there was like a week between the end of the regular season and the World Series. And the Red Sox, the National League season went a little bit longer, the regular season, than the American League. And the Red Sox didn't want their team to get rusty. So what they did was they took, and this was kind of common practice back then, they took, this is like total Curse the Bambino stuff that doesn't get talked about enough. They took like a group of all-stars from around the American League, brought them up to Fenway and said, let's play a couple games. Let's keep our guys on it. Let's have them see real pitching and all that. And in that series, Ted Williams gets hit by a pitch on his elbow and he's legitimately hurt. And in the World Series, he bats 200 and does not hit a home run. It's actually cruel. They have a couple of more, they have a couple more times where they're pretty close. In 49, they completely blow it in the last weekend of the season. Best player in Red Sox history, probably the best player in Major League history, doesn't get to win a World Series because that's what it was back then. In 1957, the guy is 39 years old. He hit 388. 388.
Damn. Yeah.
And he never won a World Series. It's just, I know it's a little bit different in baseball than some of the other sports. Like we still hold Ted Williams, Ken Griffey Jr., in a certain way, Barry Bonds, in a very high regard as some of the best players ever, even though they didn't win a title. You can't necessarily do that in basketball for sure, not in football or in hockey. It's just such a shame.
I wanted to add just to your point, because I would think another guy that we would argue would easily be one of the best hitters in all of baseball would be a guy by the name of Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
And
pure hitter. Yeah.
And what'd you say he was batting when he was 39 years old? Ted Williams was
388.
388. When Tony was 39, and this is still impressive, he batted 338.
That's pretty good. What year was that?
That was 1999. He was an all-star that year, batting 338.
Yeah. And 5 years before, he was hitting what, 394?
Yep.
Or was that George Brett's number?
No, it is 394. It's 94. That's that's the closest.
When the season stopped.
Yep.
And he could have legitimately gotten there.
But like
San Diego guy, by the way, he learned under Ted Williams a little bit.
He did, but I just wanted that's just to kind of put into perspective there too. Like even at his age, of how well he was hitting the ball compared to another amazing hitter at that same, and I get, it's hard. The game's changed, but still, like, I think I'm with you that Ted Williams for sure deserves his due of what he was able to do, especially with missing such a huge chunk there of his peak years. Like we talked about with Griffey of what he could have done if it wouldn't have been for the injuries. This isn't injuries. This is like, service that you're like, all right, I'm up and I gone for years. And so.
He's probably the greatest like team athlete to not win a championship. I mean, yeah, you can argue Bonds too, like for sure. I think Ted Williams was better, but I can hear that out. Dan Marino maybe, but like we're talking a very, very, very small group. So anyway, those are our 3 favorite athletes to never win a championship. Who are yours? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you, Zach. Be sure to like, subscribe, Zach too. Do that. We're going to bring Zach back into the fold earlier in the week next week. We had a lot going on for June. I'm very surprised by it. Be sure to like and subscribe. We're here live on YouTube every weekday, high noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcast as well. So we will see you on Monday on a little ditty that we like to call The Cam Show.
Transform your workspace with Hanomi Ergonomics. From adjustable chairs to standing desks, we provide solutions for comfort and productivity, whether at home or in the office. Improve your posture, reduce strain, and work smarter. Visit us at hanomi.co today. That's HINOMI.co today. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. Enjoy seamless, fast storage without compromising security. Visit Internex.com today and take control of your digital life. That's INTERNXT.com today. Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. Whether at home or on the go, NordVPN ensures your digital freedom. Stay secure. Download NordVPN today at nordvpn.com. That's NORDVPN.com. We understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Committed to excellence, we adopt a user-centric approach guided by ergonomics and medical science. With a team of seasoned professionals in R&D, design, and manufacturing, we prioritize quality across our entire product line. Visit TwoSains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.